against
the thing is, Ty, Blake was horrible at making any kind of prediction in the preseason, and who saw this coming from a mile away?
No, this is... you are trying to confuse two different topics. One, USF just got lucky again. I have a feeling this house of cards, we have reached the pinnacle of this house of cards, and it is falling down this week. I don't mean to get into the USF Miami pick to start it off, but Byron Bums still keeps on taking hits back there.
I want you to raise your hand and say RG3's Heisman leader is a really good quarterback that beat Florida on their home turf. And
no John Mateer on that list.
Yeah, no Mateer. Yeah, and your first reaction was, oh, they have Baron Morton over Hoover, and not Mateer. You just go straight with Baron Morton. That makes no sense.
Or I gotta defend my guy. Like, yeah, when I'm looking at these lists, Bobby, like I'm going into it as a TCU fan, and then I slowly come out of it and get my more unbiased view
of course,
things,
yeah.
So.
Yeah, but yeah, of course, we're just starting out with the jabber about USF every week. But you know what? Let's go ahead. Look, let's just get to the picks. Hello and welcome back to the Weekend Spread. I'm your host, Bobby Howard. With me today, we've got Jameson Maxwell, Ty Lee, and the captain himself, Mr. Boaton Blake. We're back for another just rousing edition of the Weekend Spread. I'm super pumped. I feel like we've had just 2 great weeks of college football. Even, hell, week 0 is great. So a lot to debate, a lot to get excited about. But yeah, boys, how are we feeling?
Feeling really good. Man, it feels good to have some competitive football on. Like, Saturdays are next level now.
I would just like to state for the record that I feel exactly how Bobby and Jameson do, but I realize that I feel that way because OU is good and competitive, and not necessarily because the product across the board, although the product across the board has been good.
I think it's been delivering week to week. This was supposed to be a sleepy weekend, and we actually got some good upsets, some great games in all the windows. Like, this was a winnable week.
SMU Baylor being on CW Network. The CW Network's app is pitiful.
Yeah, Jameson, get cable or get YouTube TV. Like, we got to stop this. If you're going to be watching the CW, either get cable or get the bunny ears. Like, this is a network that you can access over, like, on any TV. Like, it's on any TV. You do not need an app. So stop going with the app approach, because they're definitely not going to focus on an app for a channel that's on every TV.
Yeah, I'm really shocked that you're not a bunny ears guy, James. That's like right up your alley. It's free. It's economical. You know, it's kind of weird. It's kind of out there. Quality. It's very you.
Well, I could. I probably should.
It has to buy 4 antennas. That's the problem with all this TV. So
I didn't watch.
You could get a splitter. You could get a splitter, Blake.
I didn't watch that whole game, but every bit of it that I wanted to watch, I watched live on just YouTube streams. Like, people were just live streaming that game on YouTube as they do most
energy is watching the UFC match in the reflection of the guy's glasses.
No, don't take me back to OU Army for a while back. Where the guy goes, I really gotta go to the bathroom, and everybody's like, stay there.
His foot kept getting in the way. Oh yeah.
Oh my god, this is going to be a good week. Can I rehash and just let everyone know that Blake did actually send an admission of guilt to me that he was wrong about South Florida?
I did. I will say this, like, do I think they're going to stay as ranked as high as they are right now all season? No. But when you beat 2 ranked teams, especially one being a G5 powerhouse and the other one being on the road in state, like, you have to give them some props.
Yeah, we talk a lot about their offense, but their defense has been shown out. And this is a team's defense that sucked last year, and now they look really damn good. And that over-under, I'm telling you, might be one of the best sport takes across all podcasts.
It's to Jameson's credit, though. He knocked that out of the park before anyone else was talking about this USF team. We were, preseason, like a month before football started, and Jameson was preaching about this USF team. So
It was unbelievably ballsy. Yeah. It was unbelievably ballsy. Like, it didn't make any sense. It was a brutal schedule. And the fact that they've like mowed through 2 of the, tough 3 non-cons is insane. And we can talk about them a lot more. I just kind of brought them up because of the cold open bit that I wanted to do for the whole Philadelphia episode. But yeah, guys, I thought it was an interesting week because I felt like a lot of chaos happened, but you look at the last weeks and it's 6-4, 6-4, 6-4, then 5-5. Like, everyone was pretty balanced, I think, overall.
Bobby, you were not on our level. You were the 5-5 one. We're the winning record people.
Fine. You won your wild cards.
Yes, with Bobby.
It's
for
such
the record.
It's so bad.
Hope that. Can you? Did you update the wild card standings adequately?
Yes,
for the
graphic? I did. I wish I didn't.
Bobby prepares his streak again of just being pitiful at wild cards.
It's piss poor. It's piss poor.
We did
like,
the
genuinely.
We did the numbers of your overall total difference against the spread. And what was it, 40 points that you've missed?
It's awful. No, we'll have a tracker going of how badly I've missed cumulatively. Which, great. Yeah, it's not great. It's not great. But hopefully get back on the right track. And even going back to like last year, it's just pitiful. But,
yeah. Let's talk some football.
Speaking of Blake and I's streak of 50-50 against you guys remains strong, thanks to Mizzou and thanks to that halftime dude.
Screw them.
And he kicked the ball at Kansas' sideline. That was the turning point.
The amount of garbage. Oh, we were really close to some really, like, this being a really good week, but Missouri kind of going for it and screwing Kansas out of that cover, and then Kentucky with that little field goal ripped us off of Ole Miss. So it could have been a really, really good week that ended up just being mediocre.
I'm setting a calendar, just like a reoccurring notification for a year from now. Stop betting Ole Miss against Kentucky. It keeps burning me. It looks so obvious on paper that I'm like, this Kentucky team is so trash. They are still trash, but for some reason, they just the tides rise and they just like can play Ole Miss well.
Dude, Ole Miss played like Dookie though, and they played kind of Dookie in game 1. So when do we start looking at Ole Miss is like, are they just Dookie this year?
We'll get to that later on the podcast. Let's dive into our games. So quick rundown of the standings. Blake, leader in the clubhouse at 16-8. Ty is second at 16-9. Jameson and I are tied for third at 14-10. But by order of the tiebreaker, which is, wild card picks, Jameson is third. I will be taking up the 4th spot. So let's kick it off with a really, honestly, pretty great ACC matchup. This should be honestly a ranked game, but it's not. The 12th ranked Clemson Tigers heading into Atlanta to take on, that old ramblin' wreck Georgia Tech down in Atlanta. Clemson favored by 2.5 here. This line has been all over the place. Right when we put it on our sheet, I believe it was 9.5. It's already down to 2.5 here. You can find this one 11 a.m. Central on ESPN. Blake, as the leader in the clubhouse, kick us off here. Who do you like?
A lot of tricky games on the slate. But this one, there's a lot of torn emotions here. I want to go Georgia Tech because I love Haynes King. I love just kind of the lore of scrappy dogs before Brent Key was there, when we were betting them and they were not doing anything. They would be scrappy kind of, but now they're truly scrappy dogs. It feels like anytime Georgia Tech is in a big game as an underdog, they're either very close or they're winning this thing outright. But I think I got to go Clemson here. I just feel like this is a vintage Clemson bounce back game that they've looked bad for the first 2 weeks of the year. We saw it on national television versus LSU. And then last week, I think was down going into half versus Troy. Barely was able to get out of that game. The offense is dreadful for Clemson. Cade Klubnik, Jameson finally got me cut off the line last week, and I just have to accept that Cade Klubnik is just not going to become elite. He's not going to be an elite quarterback, but is he good enough to beat ACC teams? I still think yes. Even with the abysmal run game, even with the abysmal quarterback play that we've seen, I just feel like this is a classic Dabo spot where he's just going to come in and start winning some ACC games, and they're going to find their way in the ACC championship. I like Haynes King, but Haynes King is banged up, even though he plays injured, I feel like 24/7. But I'm going to go Clemson. I think the line's just too short, and this is just a vintage Clemson get right spot.
Yeah, here's the thing about this one. This is the ACC is back a little bit. That ACC championship game is up in the air, and this is a very, very, very important game for the ACC championship because Georgia Tech plays some decent teams down the road, but they don't play Florida State and they don't play Miami. They just play this Clemson team. And this Clemson team, I don't think plays Miami. I think they just play Florida State. So there is a lot of implications. And this is a game that, regardless of outcome, we could be if these two Florida teams, Miami and Florida State, pan out. This is a game that potentially is going to be discussed later on in the season as a wonky one. So Georgia Tech has a lot to play for because they have a lot to squeak in at the end potentially for an ACC championship, and they certainly know that just by nature of their schedule. Also, Clemson, I think, still ranked a little high, especially now that we've seen that LSU maybe not too impressive, but we are early in the season. It does alarm me when a team is very, very quarterback centric right now in college football. I think the way that the sport is kind of going, the meta, as kids would say, teams are a little fundamentally weaker when the only thing you hear about is their quarterback. And I'm not trying to say, OU amazing, because material and defense, and there obviously are some quarterback-centric teams that are tremendous, but generally you will find that they also have a lot around them. And I think this Clemson team, as much talk as there is about their quarterback, I think they do still have some fundamental strengths around them. So I like them 2.5 in this one, and I like that we waited for this line to creep down because when it was up where it opened, it was not so obvious. But for me, I'll ride with Clemson 2.5.
Yeah, this is my pick of the week now that it's down to 2.5. I think that I don't know what the absolute overcorrection is. Are people spooked about Troy? I don't think that's as much. Is there some kind of injury that we don't know behind the scenes that I haven't seen? Have y'all, Blake, have you seen anything about injury?
I haven't
news?
seen anything on the Clemson side.
And here's the deal with this. Like Georgia Tech, I think their run game is really where they succeed, whether it be Haynes quarterback or Haynes running back. You know, like what's going to be the move there. And I think like Clemson's defense, like those big boys, whether it be like Peter Woods or TJ Parker, I think like Wade Woodhouse is like a linebacker. I think that they could punish, put Haynes King in a hole early toward a point, and he's not the guy that is going to be getting momentum and in the fourth quarter getting the long runs. In the fourth quarter, wherever he eats, he's probably going to be worn down by the Clemson defense. I think you get Bryant Wesco a couple touchdowns, a guy that makes Cade Klubnik look a lot better, and I think Clemson handles this cover very easily.
Yeah, I gotta say, the Troy thing worried me. 16-0 on your home field right after a loss just feels weird to me. But overall, to me, this is about Brent Key and what he's building at Georgia Tech. I'm a big believer in what he's got going over there. Love both of the Hayneses, and I think it's a tough, hard-nosed team that knows how to kind of pull off upsets. Last year they took Georgia to the brink. Obviously beat a Florida State team that we thought would be good, ended up being pure ass. They beat Miami at home, and there's just something to me about this team that, I mean, Blake, from the beginning of this show, we've been calling them scrappy dogs, and I feel like, that was a little tongue-in-cheek here and there, but what Key's done is he's really built this team to be some scrappy dogs. I think the line shift, I'm buying this as more legit than panic, and I think Georgia Tech wins this one. To me, I understand that Clemson was supposed to be this, college football playoff contender. They have, obviously a culture. They have, those 5-star guys, but there's just something to me about Georgia Tech that makes me feel like this is a bad matchup for the Tigers. So I'm gonna go Island here on the Ramblin' Wreck and go Georgia Tech plus 2.5. Loved this at 9.5. Little bit more uncertain at 2.5, but I feel pretty good about this. It's been a weird season, and I think it gets a little weirder in Atlanta.
Yeah,
So.
this one, God, it could go anyway. Like, I know Jameson feels confident, but I'm just not. I'm not. Haynes King is like, just has no legs anymore, but like still, he's like in this Jake Hayner mode, just trying to stay together to win Georgia Tech games.
He's gonna take a lot of hits, man. I feel good about it. I think that if this is true, being worried about Clemson, what we've seen the first two games. I mean, the first half was ugly and they had a weird pick six and everything, but the second half was a different story for that game.
Yeah. Overall, I don't know. I'm just not buying it. Moving on to our next game. Look, a game that, this team just keeps showing up on the weekend spread over and over again. We mentioned them in our cold open.
Oh, this is on the CW?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get those bunny ears, boy.
The 18th ranked South Florida Bulls. They're heading to Miami to take on the 5th ranked Miami Hurricanes. Again, very weird situation because, USF, despite being named South Florida, is actually playing a game in South Florida because Tampa, very much in the middle. Miami favored by 17.5 here. You can find this one 3:30 p.m. Central on the CW. I'll kick it off here. Look, I've doubted the Golden Brahmin, this entire run. I kind of doubted him against Boise. Didn't make any picks or anything, but I was, kind of fading him a little bit. Didn't love it. Obviously, I went with Florida last week, 17.5, same line at the Swamp. But, I wouldn't be a fool. I'd be a fool to turn them down a third time, right?
I wouldn't be a fool if I didn't do this again.
I'm gonna go with USF, guys. I know it sounds silly. I know it's a big line. I know, obviously, Cristobal sees them coming. They see the Brahmin coming. They know they're ranked. I know that Florida game was super weird. I just think USF has enough to cover 17.5. I don't know if it's a competitive 17.5, but I'm buying the Byron Brown thing. Like these people, these guys know how to win games, make it like a bit of a scrap. That Florida game was a mess. I think they cover 17.5. I don't think they win, but that line still feels a little bit too long for me. I think we're going to end up seeing this USF team in the college football playoff, though, as that group of 5 representative. That's how big I'm on the Bulls. That's how big I'm on Alex Golish. Yeah, so USF gets a cover here. Tell me why I'm wrong, boys.
You know the trend's over when Bobby's going all in on it. You know that.
Your take is getting gentrified. Bobby's going to put a Chipotle and a Starbucks into this take.
I'm just sinking the Brahmin right here. Jameson?
So I hate that this national college football betting podcast is turning to me talking about obscure random teams. But yes, I do like talking about South Florida a lot. I've lived many years on this podcast and I've learned and I've made mistakes and I've tried to become a better man. One thing I've learned from my time on the podcast is when I get infatuated too much and I'm on the top, I've got to learn when to hold them and when to fold them.
No.
I think I need a cash out right now, boys.
Betraying them week 3? Week 3 yes. Betrayal.
I think I still have game and skin in. I'm not giving up as a fan of South Florida here, guys. I really am not. I will be cheering for them, and if I lose this bet, that is fine. But when Carson Beck's post-game interview versus Notre Dame, he says, "This team made me love football again," I go, uh-oh. He actually likes playing football now. I can't hate against Miami until they prove it to me again. They honestly look pretty good by the eye test. I'm not saying this against South Florida. This is a hedge. I am an anti-hedge person, but I'm coming out and saying it straight up. Miami minus 17.5. Sometimes it's good to hit the withdrawal button and just take your winnings every once in a while.
I will say, Jameson, if we went back in time at the start of the season and told you, hey, South Florida's going to go 2-1 against Boise, Florida, and Miami, you would take that 10 times out of 10.
Yeah. Yep. Definitely. I'd be very, very happy. Could still be 3-0, so I'm pretty happy still. But
yeah,
I'll
yeah,
be cheering
because
for
you
him.
hedged.
And honestly, and here's the thing. Another reason, and being on the CW, that's some bad juju. I want nothing to do with
for
that.
USF, they should be used to it.
I'm not gonna lie. I honestly thought you were doing a Tom Brenneman monologue there to start, but anyways.
No, I don't know where I was going with it. All I was trying to get at is I've learned from my mistakes with Texas State in my past, and I've rid them into the sun, and then I'd get burned, and I'd fly right back into the sun. I need to learn when to take some wins.
Remember, the sun for Boko was a 3/4 of tightly contested football before getting blown out by Arizona State. That was the sun.
There was one bad call with a stupid bad PI, and Texas State would have won that game at the end of the fourth. So that was not a blowout. Don't revisionist history me, Blake.
But that's the sun we're talking about. That is the sun.
I do like the sun.
Wasn't that also week 3?
Is week 2 or week 3? I can't remember.
Okay.
Yes, it was.
Well, so
it's the same Texas State week.
This is why I love playing from second on the pod, is because I thought for a moment, I think I have, if I make a convincing enough argument, I know that Blake, as an impartial expert and fan of the sport, may be swayed by my argument. So I felt that I had some power here, that we were going to 50-50 split you two on UCF. Or on USF.
I can't. I saw the writing on the wall, Ty. I can't be with Bobby, me and him alone.
The question is not, will USF win this game? The line is 17.5. The question is Miami going to blow them out of the water? And now I feel that it might be my duty to at least cast my vote to set us up to potentially island Jameson against USF, which it would be delightful no matter how it goes, because he truly does believe in this team. So I feel that I'm obligated to cast my vote towards this South Florida team, because right, they are just a rambling herd, or whatever it is that their name is. But a herd can.
That's like
think about Mufasa. Right? Mufasa was taken down by a herd of inferior animals. We're not going to get into maybe a caste system of animals on this pod. Maybe later on we get into some more animal mascots, but it is possible. And with that being said, it's only right that I cast my vote for South Florida to put Jameson on a Miami island here, but I'm not going to do that. Miami is not the good guys. I don't pick Miami to be a good guy. Miami is evil vibes. They run on illicit funding from their donors and everything else, and I love that. Give me the U to blow this South Florida team out of the water, pun intended, by 17.5. I have never seen a football game played in Hard Rock Stadium that was as packed and as lively as that Miami team was and had Hard Rock last Saturday. I am 100% bought in that they will blow this thing up later on in the season and end up with a terrible record, but not right now. Give me Miami minus 17.5.
It's going to be a splattering. It's Miami minus 17.5. The reasons why I was concerned last week about choosing USF and why I didn't want to get them, this is actually going to come to fruition, because I think Miami's just a million times better than that Florida team and their pathetic effort that they put up. But the thing that I said last week, and the thing that is still concerning about this USF offense, is their offensive line can't pass block work crap. Byron Brown is under so much duress in that Florida. It's concerning, yes, because they still have they have a good front, but Miami,
a hell of a defensive line.
Yeah, and I think Miami does too. I like Miami's defense. I like what they did against the run versus Notre Dame. I felt like they are just going to push them around. This is going to be, I think, sad. The USF defense played well against Florida, but they haven't been the best against stopping the pass this year. And I think just Beck is going to have a field day. I think this one's going to go south pretty quick. I hope, my dream scenario is Miami just comes out, kills them. South Florida, realizing that they're getting splattered, just kind of pulls the guys so they don't get injured, don't get hurt. You have something to play for now. And that would be my dream scenario. But I don't think USF.
Dude, how about Malachi Toney for Miami? True freshman. That dude's a freaking baller. That guy's good.
If Mario Cristobal could consistently learn how to coach actual football games, he would be such an elite head coach. His recruiting is insane, and the depth that they've been able to stock up in Miami has been fantastic over the last few years. Like, their talent projections are off the chart. It's just they can't coach on a down-to-down basis.
Are you calling Mario Cristobal the Hispanic Lane Kiffin?
Well,
he's a better recruiter than Lane Kiffin. Way better.
Yeah, way better.
He does.
Game management's awful.
Yeah, his game it's piss poor. It costs it has cost him multiple games,
especially with a lead. He's really bad with the lead. He can't bury teams.
I know.
He doesn't know what he's doing. That's why I like 17.5.
That's why I need it just to be a splattering up front, that if Byron Brown's just getting sacked like no other, that they just call the dogs off, because USF be smart. I know the reason why they're here is because they're kind of like a very aggressive team, but you have something to play for now. Like, you can lose this game to Miami by 100, and if you win the rest of your games, you're in the playoff.
Yeah, I don't think you're wrong. Moving on to our next game. It's time for the backyard brawl. It's the Pittsburgh Panthers heading to Morgantown to take on the West Virginia Mountaineers, fresh off of a pretty bad loss to the Ohio Bobcats. Pitt favored on the road by 6.5 here. Could find this one 2:30 p.m. Central on ESPN. Blake, who do you like?
Yeah, I've been high on Pitt since we did our weekend spread kind of preseason gambling show. Pitt's my dark horse team that can contend in this ACC. I really like Eli Holstein. I think the improvements in the passing offense, especially with Pitt over the last 2 years by bringing in that guy, I believe, from Western Carolina, it's not your typical Pitt team that's kind of relies on a good defense and kind of like a scrappy offense just to win games by little margins. Pitt's played nobody, but it looks like it's clicking early. West Virginia is just a disaster. I think when will teams learn that? I just feel like these retread head coaches, where you've gone back to your prodigal son that brought you glory in a former time, is going to go well. I don't think it's going to work out for Scott Frost at UCF, sorry, and I don't think it's going to work out for Rich Rod at West Virginia. I think the West Virginia defense is all right, but their offense is just crap. When you look at every offensive analytic, they can't run the ball, they can't throw the ball, they can't do anything. Even though it's a rivalry game, which makes me a little hesitant. The last 3 matchups when they started playing this again have been, it seems like, relatively close affairs. I am gonna go Pitt. They're so much better. They're so much better, and yeah, I just can't imagine this West Virginia team being competitive at all this year.
Yeah, I'll be quick on this one. Like Blake said, this ACC, very, very competitive. Like I was talking about, you still have teams like this Pitt team that can punch above their weight potentially, or maybe punch at their weight, as we start to see what some of these other higher expectation teams are once they face deeper into their schedule. West Virginia, yeah, not super impressive, but this is a rivalry game. So I think you got to keep that in mind. And I think that's why this line is under a touchdown, albeit by 0.5. But I like Pitt minus 6.5 in this one. I think just fundamentally better team with more to play for. And because it is a rivalry game, a little bit less chance for Pitt to have a look ahead situation here. So go ahead and give me a Pitt in this one, 6.5.
Dude, this line was at -2 last week, and that was during the West Virginia game versus Ohio. I was tuned in a little bit to that, and West Virginia looks pitiful. Their offense is unbelievably bad. Nico Marchiol is just not it, and then they benched him for another quarterback who just looked also atrocious. Nothing was working for this West Virginia team. This is definitely an anti-West Virginia pick, and this is an all Pitt. Give me Pitt.
Yeah, I'm all in on the Panthers as well. Mainly, you lost to Ohio. What are you doing, West Virginia? That's pretty brutal. I know you're one, very weird that you're playing a road game at Ohio. A little odd to take that trip to Athens. But overall,
y'all are playing Temple. Y'all are playing Temple on the road
in an NFL stadium. We're not going to Athens, Ohio. We're going to Philadelphia.
It's still weird. It's still weird. Arizona went
still a major city.
To San Marcos.
Yeah, we're also playing a game at San Diego State here in a couple years.
Do I need to mention why it wouldn't be a talking point at all for TCU to play at Temple?
Anyways, so yeah, at 7.5, a little dodgy. but not much. 6.5, love it. So yeah, give me Pitt. No need to talk more about that. Moving on to our next game. We've got the Arkansas Razorbacks heading to Oxford to take on the Mississippi Rebels. Ole Miss ranked 17th in the country, favored by 7.5. You can find this one 6 p.m. Central on ESPN. And look, I was kind of not big on Ole Miss entering the season. Blake and I had a whole little tiff about it on the SEC preview. And I got to say, very much not impressed with how they handled a Zach Calzada-led Kentucky team last week. I thought they looked like a mess. Austin Simmons, I thought I was not impressed. I know he
was very impressive.
And he left the game with an injury. Supposedly he's going to be okay. Am I crazy to really like the Pitties here?
Yes.
I think. Am I? I'm just saying. Taylor Green's been excellent, and I know you have this moment every year with the Taylor Green, like recent Sam Pittman teams, where you're optimistic about them, and then the floor falls out. I don't know if they're there yet. I kind of think they get a crazy upset in Oxford. Or maybe if they don't get a crazy upset, I think this is going to be closer than people think. I'm going to go Arkansas 7.5.
Yeah, it's Arkansas 7.5. Austin Simmons is not it. And you tell me he got hurt and he's going to play in this game too. The only thing he could complete in the game is a 6-yard dig route. That's all he could freaking do. His accuracy was piss poor. His decision making was piss poor. You could tell that he was a young quarterback out there in over his head. And that was against a Kentucky team that lost a lot of talent on their defense from last year. I don't think Kentucky team's that good. There's going to be an overcorrection this week with Kentucky. Or does Kentucky even play this week? Whatever their next game is, it's going to be an overcorrection. But I think it's all Ole Miss. I think what our opinions of Ole Miss, we need to throw in the trash. I hate that it's against an Arkansas team that I'm still a little bit iffy on because everyone's going to see Taylor Green and be like goo goo gaga over him because he's a dual threat quarterback and put up stats. I wish it was a little bit more of a competitive team that could really just punch Ole Miss in the face. But this is a hater pick to Ole Miss from what I watched last week. So give me Arkansas as well.
Yeah, I might get burned on this one, but Ole Miss at home. I think bouncing back. They always look bad against Kentucky. They've looked bad against Kentucky under Lane Kiffin for, if this is not 3 years in a row, then it's 4 years in a row. And I'm not sure on that number, but it's been more than 2 that they've looked bad against Kentucky in a row. And I think when I have 2 teams that are question marks next to their names on the schedule, I'm not really putting much value in that 17 next to Ole Miss's name, but I am putting value in just the talent of players that they have. And I understand that I said the same thing about USF Florida last week, but USF is heavy vibes right now. They are out there grinding. They're out there trying to, they legitimately are fighting for that G5 spot in the playoff. They need those wins to sort of stamp their name on why they deserve that. And that's not this Arkansas team. Both of these teams are, yes, Arkansas has had some big wins, but I think big question marks. And I think both of these teams are feeling shaky in their place in the SEC right now, particularly Ole Miss because of, they have kind of a reputation to upkeep that Arkansas maybe necessarily doesn't right now. But I just think the talent on the roster at Ole Miss is enough to cover this at home. I think Ole Miss does not have a bad running back room. I mean, what's the Lacey and Diggs are their top 2 guys? I just have ESPN pulled up on the other screen. Don't assume that I know these.
Lacey's
people.
A good player.
But,
I like him.
Yeah, both of these dudes are very solid. And if Ole Miss just feeds Lacey the entire time, I think they cover this. So it's really, to me, it's on Kiffin to just have the right game plan. This cover is theirs to lose. And I agree. I think this could be closer than people expect all game. But to me, I think that's Arkansas keeps it a 3-point game all game. And then in the last quarter, Ole Miss gets a touchdown and then they finish up 10. So I like that scenario. I like Ole Miss minus 7.5.
A backdoor Ole Miss cover.
And I tried to get Bobby off of the scent so bad, but if there's any hype around this Arkansas squad,
Show them.
And there was competition out there saying some other coach might have looked better in that slimming sportswear that Nike gives out. No. The king of the polo, the king of the Nike slim fit nice polo is Sam Pitties. Sam Pitties. I need him to save his job, please. I need him to save his job. And look at those.
The pride of Miami, Oklahoma, right there.
Look at that. God, I save it every single time I see it or I send it. So I have about like 1 million copies of that in my photo roll. That is probably my favorite picture.
An entire gig devoted to the biddies.
But I love the Pitties. I love Taylon Green. I called him last year the poor man's Vince Young. That has not come to fruition just yet, but sometimes you're not wrong. You're just early. And maybe that's what I was last year with Taylon Green. Give me Arkansas to keep this close. And I'm kind of with Bobby. I'm feeling an upset. I'm feeling this team looks explosive. I know they've only played Alabama A&M and Arkansas State. Not great programs, and the run defense for Arkansas has not been fantastic, which I feel like is the one part of Ole Miss I kind of trust. Not liking the matchups, not liking the vibes that Ty's just sitting over there. Feels like we could give them a layup after Arkansas just always feels like they have a early season letdown. Remember last year around this time, they lost to OSU.
And then turned around and beat Tennessee randomly.
Yeah. This team doesn't make sense. They'll either get blown out or they'll win this outright. And that's what scares me about it. But if you're giving me the Pitties and some hope, I'm taking it. So give me the Razorbacks.
By the way, Jameson, I was wrong. Pittman's from Grove, Oklahoma.
Oh, hell yeah.
He's a Ridge Runner. Yeah, great elite Walmart out in Grove. All right, moving on to our not as good as Littlefields. Well, anyways, moving on to our next game in the SEC. We've got the Vanderbilt Commodores 2-0 after an impressive win at Lane Stadium. They're heading on to Williams-Brice to take on the South Carolina Gamecocks, ranked 11th in the country. In an interesting 2-0. South Carolina favored by 4.5 here at home. You can find this one 6:45 p.m. Central on the SEC network. Blake, who do you like?
Yeah, this for Vanderbilt is a sneaky team that they just can't beat. I looked up today. Somebody had caught me on to this fact, and they haven't beaten South Carolina since 2008. And they were in the same division as them. James Franklin was there at some point, and they've beaten like almost every other SEC team, not including the ones that like just joined. And they just seem to have a South Carolina problem. So I'm going to go with the Gamecocks, but this has me worried. I thank God for the fact that I'm so right about Lenora Sellers. That guy, he is just a big play merchant, but is not good on a down-to-down basis. That guy has zero consistency in those bones. You cannot trust him. The South Carolina offense has looked pitiful. They've looked pitiful like the first 2 weeks. They needed a special teams touchdown to win versus Virginia Tech, who Vanderbilt just came in and just destroyed on the road, and then didn't look that impressive against South Carolina State. But I just feel like this is a history play. I feel like people are buying Vanderbilt a little too high right now, where I think this is like Vanderbilt. I always think they're going to be a solid team now in the SEC, especially with Diego Pavia, but I don't think they're anything elite. It's hard going into South Carolina to win. I'm taking the 4.5. I think this one's relatively close, but if Lenora Sellers is really who people say he is and how he's one of the most hyped quarterbacks, maybe even the most hyped right now in college football, I need to see it on the football field. And this is time to show up because SEC play starts. So give me South Carolina.
Yeah, this one to me, as an admitted casual, 4.5 is kind of confusing why it's this low, even with everything that Blake told me. I feel like I'm missing something in this one because to me, Lenora Sellers, especially because he's not my quarterback necessarily, is the type of quarterback that you love in college football. That's what makes college football fun. I don't want to see Brock Purdy, 49ers checkdowns, just play after play, and teams just grinding away like little 3-yard plays and then punting for the entire game. And then it's like 14-24 finish. And they're like, oh my God, they blew them out. I cannot stand the NFL when they do that. I need erratic chaos. I need big play merchants and big play failures to make things interesting. And that's alarming. But to me, South Carolina, everything is there. And until I've seen otherwise, and this very much could be the moment that I'm burned or get my hands stuck in the cookie jar here, but until I've seen otherwise, I just feel like this is still a fundamentally sound team. I don't think they're going to be super competitive in the SEC, right? They have a tough schedule. They got to play LSU. They got to play Mizzou, whose vibe's up right now for some reason. OU, Ole Miss. They have to play Clemson out of conference here coming up. They have a tough schedule, but I feel like they're just finding themselves here, and this is one of their more winnable games. They get it at home, where that's such an amazing environment that team is going to feed off of, especially first game of SEC play. And I feel like there's going to be some tension with the fan bases here, just being bottom feeders. Sounds disrespectful to South Carolina, but being some of the bottom SEC,
they
right?
are.
They know that they have to win these games to scrap against the other ones at the bottom. So I feel like there's going to be a tremendous motivation here. And 4.5 to me, even with all the question marks about South Carolina, 4.5 just seems like some sort of trap. But I'm going to go ahead and take that. I feel like I'm missing something tremendous that this isn't at least 9, because I feel like there's enough casuals like myself that would bet this one up. But go ahead and give me South Carolina minus 4.5.
Yeah, I think that we've got to give credit to the way Vanderbilt played in the second half versus Virginia Tech. I think that team looked really well-rounded. They looked like a powerhouse, and I think that's where a lot of Vanderbilt pickers should be feeling confident in this game. But I think South Carolina had a look ahead last week when they were playing South Carolina State. They looked really poor in the first half. It looked like an anemic offense, and they kind of fixed it a little bit near the end of the game. But they're kind of stuck in a rain delay. There was a lot of things going against them to make them look bad last week. I think that's deflating this line too much and out of South Carolina's favor. That's a rain delay games versus a team that you're not very interested in. That's so easy to lose your team. So I think South Carolina comes back with new passion, punches Vanderbilt out of the gate, which the Vanderbilt in the first half of Virginia Tech game did not look that good. So if they don't start hot, I'd be concerned about Vanderbilt here. So I'm going to also go South Carolina.
This has been a really tough one for me because I think there's a common misconception with Vanderbilt at this point where, they still have that kind of shiny new vibe about them where you're like, oh, look at Vandy. How cute. They're doing great. And I don't quite think they're that anymore. I think they're actually a legitimate team. I think Clark Lee has built himself a really good program that's on the up. What they did against Virginia Tech, a team that, keep in mind, South Carolina barely skated by, in week 1, really took some, Lenora Sellers magic in a neutral site game. And Vanderbilt shuts out Va-Tech in the second half at Lane Stadium in Blacksburg. That's impressive as hell. I think the motivation's obviously there. Diego Pavia was asked in preseason which game he wants to win the most. Like, of every game on your schedule, who do you want to beat the most? And he said South Carolina. So, they know the history. They know everything that's at stake. And I would not be surprised if Vanderbilt, goes in there and wins straight up with how South Carolina's been looking. That being said, I'm an island on 2 different one of these games, or 2 different games here, boys.
This isn't a winner mindset right here. I can tell
you
that.
Do I feel comfortable enough to go on 3 different islands? Do I trust Vanderbilt that much?
Pick what you want.
There were so many islands last week, and we ended up all with almost the same record. The islands you never really go way in favor of one, not in favor of the other. Choose who you want.
Well, you kind of
ruined. Are you trying to win this, or are you trying to just stay with the pack?
You guys are forgetting.
You guys are ruining my ricochet here. You
guys are forgetting that year that Bobby and I were neck and neck in the last week, and he islanded 4 times, and I was cracking up because I just knew that I had him. And then he smoked all of us in that last week. It was 8-2, and then I had the punishment. Bobby knows what he's doing with the island. 4.5 is not crazy to island yourself on a 4.5.
you're missing the ricochet too. I said last week I'm not going against Diego Pavia. I'm not in the business of going against Diego Pavia. Vandy plus 4.5. They might not win the game, but I think they're going to cover that spread. I think this is going to be a banger of an SEC game. I like the Commodores to keep it close. I know that's real thin, but I like Vandy.
Nice bait attempt there, Ty. I see what you were doing to try to convince Bobby he was
No,
making.
No. I was gonna flip.
You guys are acting like Bobby has never had a generational performance on islands before, and I have personally suffered because of it. So I am alarmed when Bobby goes on an island run.
Yeah, I'm like that. That one. Anyways, let's move on to the next game because I can't remember that reference. So we got the 16th ranked Texas A&M Aggies heading to South Bend, take on Notre Dame, ranked 8th in the country. Notre Dame favored by 6.5 here. You can find this one 6:30 p.m. Central on NBC. Woof. Brutal game. We've only seen the Irish once. They did not look good at all against Miami. Jeremiah Love weirdly got barely any carries, and when we did see him get carries, he was kind of dreadful. Yeah, and I mean with A&M, I'm still not sure where we're at there. I'm gonna go with the home team to cover a touchdown. I don't love it. This is kind of part of the Achilles heel of this show is you're stuck with, we pick the best games. We don't pick the best lines to pick. And this is one that I'm just not really sure on. I think Notre Dame, with a week off to prepare, gets the win, gets to cover. 6.5 for the Irish is my play.
Yeah, this is a game I'm staying away from. I don't trust either of these teams. I wanted to hate pick against both of these teams. But boys, let's try to make Bobby an island again. Non-bad shout out to the Island boys that hung out with Joshua Block World of T-shirts recently and bullied him a lot. How dare they? So I'm anti-Island boy this week. And that deep cut reference for my World of T-shirt lovers out there. Give me Texas A&M to cover to keep this game close enough. I think this is just an ugly game, and I'm just going to pick points.
I've never even heard of World of T-shirts.
Put the price
he makes
in the bag,
$400,000 a year, Ty.
Okay.
There's so much lore, man.
We don't need to dive into it.
Sounds like a surf shop at
He's a raging alcoholic who drinks a bunch of Smirnoff Ices, gets drunk, and creates havoc on the streets and yells at people. And then they yell back at him to tell him to put the fries in the bag, essentially calling him poor. And then he gets really mad.
I am shocked you haven't heard. You've heard of all these other random internet things.
Yeah,
brain rot. Joshua Block has been around for about 4 or 5 years now. He's
exactly. You guys are Sorry, I'm not up with what's cool on Facebook currly, but I'm gonna go ahead and take Notre Dame.
Link.
Notre Dame is the obvious take here. Right. Notre Dame with a
you picking the favorite every single game.
That's how he wins. That's how he wins.
I have not picked the favorite.
That's not how
he said this in the past. That's one of the reasons why he
No,
Ty has won, but he's also done the punishment twice. So let's
I've won twice. I've played 4 times a full season, and I've won twice, and I've finished dead last twice. I'm the LSU of this podcast. It is only roller coastering. We're not going to put together a dynasty here. No, but Notre Dame may be better Notre Dame team last year, yes, but I think a better Texas A&M team last year potentially, and Notre Dame went into Kyle Field and got the win by 10. I think Notre Dame at home, they have been punched in the mouth now. They need a bounce back. They need a win against an SEC opponent so that they can, wave that around, even though it's only Texas A&M. I think this Notre Dame team is going to be fired up. They're well coached. They have a tremendous culture. I want to hate Notre Dame as much as everyone else that's not like Shane Gillis or that doesn't have some sort of weird, weird attachments to Notre Dame that people get because identities. But you just cannot hate this Notre Dame team when you're giving me Notre Dame at home less than a touchdown versus Texas A&M. that's to me. I don't think it's going to be easy. Notre Dame's not going to blow them out. They're not going to look like tremendous the whole time, but I think they have a touchdown at home against an inferior Texas A&M team. So go ahead and give me the Fighting Irish minus 6.5 in this one. They need this win. They're going to be fired up. They're well coached. They've already been punched in the mouth. They've already been tested. I think this team has found themselves already. Not the only team. This is just the first time this has come up. So go ahead and give me the Irish in this one.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell Bobby and Ty to put the fries in the bag, and I'm joining Jameson, and we're going.
There we go.
We're riding with the Aggies this weekend. There's a lot of. I think this one I feel like is a consensus stay away for most, but things that have me concerned. Texas A&M's run defense has looked pretty pitiful against two not very good teams. UTSA and Utah State feels like they were able to get what they wanted and not like stay in those games, but score a little bit more than I would like. So Texas A&M's defense really hasn't passed the sniff test yet, but Notre Dame too, like Miami on the lines of scrimmage, when it came to that Notre Dame defensive line, Miami just dominated them, just absolutely dominated them. And I think the same thing happens here. I really like Texas A&M's offensive line. I like Marcel Reed in the sense that he hasn't really run much. I think they're saving his legs for big moments like these. That's going to create, I think, with this Notre Dame defense, a lot of panic. They have really gadgety receivers, which they could do a lot with, which I like that versatility from A&M. So 6.5, even if they don't win, I think they keep it close. Ty noted about last year, Notre Dame rolling into College Station. I just think this Notre Dame team is completely different than last year's. Riley Leonard never really got the love and respect he deserves. People trashed on him last year, but I think CJ Carr's way worse. So I think I think Notre Dame just starts off the season 0-2 and A&M wins this. So give me the Aggies.
You know what's funny about that with Miami is they could somehow win the rest of their games and make the playoff when these are the only two like tough teams.
I don't think so. I think
they should.
They should, and I don't think they will. Because the problem is the ACC, I think, is a lot stronger this year, where we could see that being a 2-bid league, especially when two of your powers are going to be Miami and Florida State. And then Big 12, I think, is going to be not as every team can win. Any team can win any weekend. I think they're starting to show a clear bottom, like 6-7 teams that are just going to be non-competitive. So I could see the Big 12 having a 12-0 team potentially, like in the Big 12 championship, and if they lose that, they're going to make it.
And I will say, Blake,
it could be Utah, which is the scary part. That's my odds-on favorite right now to be undefeated going into the Big 12 championship is Utah, which the conversation I don't want to have just yet.
Big bus in the playoffs. My whole thing is, the Golden Domes, the interlocking ND. That's a hard thing to,
it would be so much bias. It would be one of those that they're really. I would think in that situation, either the season had gotten just out of hand and crazy, and 10-2 is actually not a bad record, or there's actually deserving teams and they're just putting them over. But like their schedule's so bad, it's so bad.
Yeah, fair. True. And I hate to talk about the playoffs this early in the season and inadvertently make you do the thing you hate to do the most.
This is probably the last time we talk about Notre Dame for a long time. Like it's probably, I don't know, like the Pitties, maybe depending on the Pitties do this weekend, that could be a marquee matchup,
Oh, that's right. The Pitties could save us from a Notre Dame, wonky playoff run. So,
are they going to South Bend?
No, Arkansas. They're going to Fayetteville.
Oh, that could be the most disgusting college game day in the world. Please, Ole Miss, please save us from
Alabama, Georgia. Alabama, Georgia's that weekend. Unfortunately, so it's they're not going to do that. Let's move on to our next game. They're
going to go watch a 2-loss Bama.
Oh, okay. We got the number 6 ranked Georgia Bulldogs here. They're heading to Neyland and take on the Tennessee Volunteers, ranked 15th in the country. This has been a bit of a disaster for Tennessee in years past. Kirby Smart has owned the Vols across the board. Georgia favored by 3.5 on the road, 2:30 p.m. Central start time on ABC. Blake, does Josh Heupel and Tennessee do they finally exhume the past and get a win against the Dogs?
I was leaning towards Tennessee to start. I was really loving that Tennessee hype. Just because the offense has been moving so well. Like Joey Aguilar or whatever his name is looks good at quarterback. Just a great system. But the more and more I said on this, I'm like, stop being stupid. This is just one where you like the Heupel offense. It's a good system, but it's a good system against like not top tier coaches. And once you have top tier coaches, they can figure this out. If you look at the historical results, Georgia has Tennessee figured out. And although the offenses look so lackluster under Gunnar Stockton, I think I just got to take Georgia. Like this defense, I think is just too much for Tennessee. Although Tennessee's been playing well to start the year, although they just went in and just smacked around Syracuse, which I don't even think Syracuse is that good of a squad this year. But
they almost lost to UConn, man. Like,
yeah, like they're running DC running sprints after the game, like that performative little stunt. God, Fran Brown's gonna go. I think he is a good coach and stuff like that, but he has to cut some of that gimmicky type stuff out of his.
I mean, gimmicky is how you make it at those programs.
We
hate row the boat here on the Sooner Pod, but
yeah.
I mean, he's still there. So, like, think about that.
Well, you've just been docked fired. You've just been docked 5 Fleck coin for that, Jameson.
No, I just gave him props. I'm a huge Fleck hater, and then you're taking away my Fleck coin? You should give me Fleck coin.
It was kind of a backhanded compliment.
It was, yeah, no. The Fleck coin arbitrator understood what you were doing there. You removed an extra 5 Fleck coin from you, sir.
I don't think I have any Fleck coin to begin with.
I think we sold that a long time ago.
We sold off all of the Fleck coin. But Blake, back with your pick.
But yeah, I just think Georgia's too well coached. Their linebacking group looks incredible this year. This Georgia defense is going to keep them in a lot of games, kind of similar to last year in a sense when the offensive play isn't good. They're still going to win a lot of games just because the coaching, the defensive talent is there. I'm going to go Georgia, and I don't think this one's probably going to be particularly close, sadly. Tennessee, they can't get over this hump. I just feel like this is a hump that with a flashy, sexy little offense, like you're not going to beat these guys that are just recruit well, good fundamental football that just out-athlete you. So give me Georgia.
Yeah, can I just say, I will answer my pick in one word after I say this, but can I just say what an atrocious name for Fleckcoin is? Because there's so many better names. It could have been Fleck Francs. It could have been, oh goodness, there was another Fleck Marks has quite a ring to it. Fleckles instead of Shekels would have been amazing. Fleckles goes hard. That was
Fleckles is the one.
Derpy.
That was my prime one. Yeah. So I don't know. It's disappointing that they went with Fleck coin there, but I can see why maybe they would have avoided Fleckles because it does perhaps bring in some other connotations when you start to use it online. But go ahead and give me Georgia minus 3.5.
Jameson, who you got?
My exact talking point was going to be what Blake just said. I really like Joey Aguilar. I love Chris Brazzell at wide receiver. They seem like they're really well connected. And like the way that Aguilar throws the ball, honestly, thank your lucky stars Nico's gone. Like that was a hell of a move for them.
He has confidence. Like that's what Nico didn't have. And he just has constant confidence that he could just chuck the ball around.
And a quarterback, that is what you need the most. We talked about that on the podcast for the Schooner Pod. Jackson Arnold has no confidence. And so he can't throw the ball because if you just have a half second of doubt within your game, you're going to screw up. And if you've said this in the past, Blake, people with confidence, they might throw some deep ball interceptions, but at least they are trying to make those plays to begin with, right? That's a better interception than an indecisive interception. I really like this Tennessee team moving forward. Just not 3.5 versus Georgia. I agree with you as well. I just can't do it. I wanted to come out of the woods and say, like, I'm going to support this Tennessee team, but this is not the line nor the team I want to do it with.
Yeah, I'm honestly with all of y'all here. I think Tennessee, to me, like, anytime they have really big games against the truly elite defenses, it gets bogged up a bit. And I know there are some massive questions about Georgia's offense, Gunnar Stockton, the rest of those weapons. They didn't look great against Austin Peay. Yeah, he is absolutely worse than Beck. But not only that, he doesn't have the weapons that Beck had. It just doesn't feel like offensively Georgia doesn't have what they used to have. I don't know. But to me, I think that defense, even though we didn't see a ton against Austin Peay, Kirby has something cooking there. I'm going to go Georgia 3.5. I don't love it. I'm not overly enthusiastic about it. But the proof is in the pudding. Kirby wins this game every single year. And Tennessee, it's looking like this is the last time this is an annual game. And if I was a Volunteer fan, I'd be thanking my lucky stars that run is over of having to play Georgia every year, because it's been a bit of a nightmare. Still like the Vols overall. I think they're going to have some really good runs here. But, Kirby Smart's the boogeyman. And he's back for another year's worth of rent. So we'll see how that goes. Moving on to our next game. We've got the Florida Gators, fresh off of a embarrassing, humiliating loss to USF. Well, boys, you better turn it around, because you got to go to Baton Rouge and take on the Louisiana State Tigers. LSU ranked 16th in the country, 2-0. LSU favored by 7.5 here. This line has been creeping towards Florida. You can find this one 6:30 p.m. Central on ABC. There's a part of me that really is intrigued with the Florida bounce back. Billy right back on the hot seat, as hot as it's ever been, probably. That USF loss is incalculably bad.
They released the AD released the statement being like, he's going to be our coach for the rest of the year. Like, stop asking.
After game two.
Was it, please tell me it was Notes app screenshot.
No.
No. Whole graphic. Oh yeah. No, it was professionally designed, Photoshop, all of that. It wasn't even Canva. Like, they actually did some good stuff with that. I could see a world where Florida fights back here and makes it a tight game. But the more you creep it towards LSU, like LSU minus 7.5, I've been big on the Tigers. I know they didn't look impressive against Louisiana Tech last week. That's fine. That's just one of those situations where you're caught in between a look ahead and you're feeling yourself after a massive win. I like LSU 7.5 at home Saturday night in Death Valley to cover 7.5. I don't think it's the most comfortable cover the Tigers have ever had, but I like them better than Florida. Lagway has looked like a total mess. He looks rusty. I know he didn't really have any of a spring whatsoever. Was in and out during fall, and it really shows. And I think the fact that Lagway isn't playing on an elite level, that's the difference. And I just wonder where this Florida team's head's at, which is something you really don't want to hear going into against a team that I think is one of the best in the country in LSU. Also, LSU is not 16th. I did not change that. They're like third. Never mind. Sorry, guys. So yeah, LSU 7.5. That's the play.
I'm going to pick Florida plus 7.5 for bounce back here. I think you said it. I think Billy Napier needs this game, and he did it in the past whenever he needed games. He came back and made it close and won some big time games for them. I think this Florida team has a lot of talent that did not show out at all in that USF game, but I think that they will have enough talent to keep it competitive versus LSU. I'm not saying that they win it, but I still think they keep it close. I think that there's some good wide receivers in Florida. There's some really fast guys that could give a lot of problems to LSU's DBs. Trey Wilson's a hell of a wide receiver. You got Vernell Brown. And then you could really hit him with the run game as well, with whether that be DJ Lagway running the ball, Jaden Ball. I think they got a really good offense that wasn't really thought to be much after that USF game, but I still think they can show some things here and kind of bring people back to say, you know what, I actually believe in this Florida team this season to actually create some noise. So give me Florida plus 7.5.
No, I I think this one is so LSU currently number 3, right? Is LSU going to be an absolute world beater? I don't know, but if I put myself in the shoes of an LSU fan, I see why they're saying and thinking some of the things that they're saying and thinking. If you look at what they're saying and thinking online, I don't know why I didn't just say LSU fans think that they're a national championship contender, because that would have been way shorter and better for the podcast. But LSU fans are really buying into this hype. And if I'm an LSU fan, I can see that, because I look at how I'm feeling about this OU team now. And this LSU team, I think, has a very, very solid resume of works already shown this year. And there's not many other teams in the nation that can point to their record going into week 3 and have a really legitimate looking record with teams that they played, LSU and OU both in that count. Obviously, I see why they feel and believe what they feel and believe. And I think it's there, right? There's still a lot of question marks. There's still a lot of stuff that they need to iron out. And yes, they have maybe the Heisman front runner right now, but that's certainly up in the air. And this is not a John Mateer take, but we're early in the season and LSU has a tough schedule. But I don't know. Florida, and I would have felt it had Florida blown out USF last week. I would have felt the same way about this game. LSU 7.5 in Death Valley, the real Death Valley. I think that's too juicy for a team that has been probably looking at this game, has been planning for this game, that has talent up and down the roster. Names on this roster that OU fans should recognize, actually. My favorite, Nick Anderson, unfortunately, over there, as is Jameson's boy Bauer Sharp, also over there. But I don't know. I think LSU has talent top to bottom. And frankly, I think this year is the perfect setup for – I would love for LSU and OU to be rivals. I will just continue to say that until the end of time, because I think it makes sense and they're drivable, and we're sort of in the same little niche in the conference. But I love LSU. I'm in general anti-Louisiana. I love LSU on this one. Give me the Tigers minus 7.5 to chomp on some gator tails.
Dude, I hate that Garrett Nussmeier is like a favorite right now in some sports books for the Heisman.
I don't think he is.
He's thrown legitimate. No, he is. He's got like plus 900 odds.
Yeah, I know he is.
Because this dude has thrown 2 touchdowns this season. He's thrown 2 touchdowns.
You know where 50% of them came from?
Clemson.
Nick Anderson. Anderson.
Yeah, but it's just ridiculous. Like, come on now, guys. It's like, it's week 3. I get it. Who cares what the Heisman odds of week 3? But like at the same time, like, why isn't his odds dropping just like everyone else? Just because he's winning football games.
Yeah, but he didn't necessarily look like not to hype Blake up, but Hoover looked like a Heisman contender. That guy out at Illinois.
Nussmeier threw a pick versus La Tech.
Yeah. Mateer looks like a scrappy, but Heisman contender.
You can throw a pick like John Mateer, but you got to do things also like, you got to put up the rushing yards and the pass yards as well. Yeah. Garrett Nussmeier put up 1 touchdown and 1 interception. His interception to touchdown ratio is 2-1 right now.
Yep.
That's not good. Blake, who do you like?
And that's why I'm not buying the LSU hype just yet. I can't quit my Florida quarterbacks. I'm obsessed with them. I just can't quit him, and I just feel like DJ Lagway is going to right this ship. He's an elite talent, and I know he is, and so I'm going to take Florida plus 7.5. I think it's just because of not being able to practice for the spring. I feel like it just hasn't gelled yet, and it's going to have to click. It's going to click at some point. Things that worry me is really LSU's defense. That's kind of surprising to say, considering 2 years ago, like they were one of the most abysmal units in the nation. But Blake Baker's done an awesome job over there. Like finally figured out how to use Harold Perkins correctly, which nobody seemed to know how to do the last few years. And so, hey, like I think this LSU defense is great, but that offense has not been looking good so far against Clemson nor La Tech. And I don't know why. But I feel like people are overreacting to Florida, that they lost to this USF team when they just haven't gelled yet. I think they're going to still be a good SEC team, but this is dirty, but giving the plus 7.5 Florida.
Okay. Got a little split there. Let's move on. Great games. across the board. But there's one game that everybody's clearly excited about, and that is the 13th ranked Oklahoma Sooners heading to Temple, heading to Philly. They got chicken in Philly. A little football game. OU Temple. A little bit crazy that you have OU going to Philly, but I'll take it. Sooners favored by 21.5 here. You can find this one 11 a.m. Central on ESPN2. Blake, who do you like?
Yeah, this line just feels low. I don't think Temple's any good. They, ever since Matt Rule left, just really have not been able to find their way out of the desert. And yeah, OU looked really impressive last week versus Michigan. Like, that was a good test. Like, I think Michigan, although they're not going to be an elite Big Ten team, I think they're still very solid. They're still threatening. They're somewhat well coached. I kind of disagree with how they were using Bryce Underwood throughout that entire game, but look, OU won that. My only complaint with OU and John Mateer, why is he side-arming everything? Is that just his release point?
Yes.
Yeah, that's his
That's
motion.
why he went to Washington State to begin with.
That is literally his motion.
Do not like that.
He has a weird
Do
little
not like that.
slingshotty thing, but like it works.
I turned on that game, and I think the first play I saw, he was like launching a deep ball and hit the defender in the back of the helmet because it had zero height on it. It's just that worries me, but he's a gamer. He's a gamer. And that means something in college, which I love. So 21.5, I hope it should look better than it did against Illinois State to start. So yeah, I'm not doing after last week's OSU debacle where I decide to go against the grain and put it on Mike Gundy to cover 28.5. I'm not getting
69-3.
I know. And at least Oregon gave me a swift death that I just didn't even have to pay attention after I realized how much they were up at half. I was like, yep, this is not going anywhere. That was my dumbest pick. That was my dumbest pick.
Points within 90 seconds.
Oh my god! And Gundy was taking pictures with the Oregon fans after the game. It's horrendous, and that's what it'd feel like taking Temple. You're just hoping for some last minute miracles to cover that spread, which I don't want to be in the business of anymore. So give me the Sooners.
So I just noticed the notifications in our chat. If you want to hear more about this one, we did a extensive review of the Michigan game, and then for about 30 seconds talked about this Temple game earlier in the week. So go check that out if you haven't already. But for me, this one is simple. Like Blake said, Mateer is a gamer. Mateer is my dude. I am telling you guys, I said this on the other pod, I will say this again. I have not had that feeling watching an OU quarterback since Kyler. He's not a player comp with Kyler. He is, I think, watered down, or maybe Temu Baker Mayfield if you want, but it's that same vibe. I love it so much, and it has invigorated this offense in a way that even when they're not necessarily producing, you still believe in them. You still believe that they're going to get it done, and they're going to game, and they can play hero ball if they need to. And I am 100% on board with this OU team. And I am fingers crossed. I'm not going to jinx anything. I'm not going to be accused of jinxing anything or anything like that. But I very much look forward to the chance later this season where I can come on this pod and say, I was wrong about Brent Venables. It was 1 year. It was rebuilding. It takes a while to build your system. It's a new era of college football. I believe that the potential is there for that based on the way we looked in that Michigan game where it was not a fluke. We look like the better team.
Oh, God.
And Michigan might turn out to be not that amazing, right? That is a potential. But
isn't all it took this entire time, this deep-seated hate where every Schooner pod we've weekend spread we've had for 2 years has been every single one mentions a dig to Brent Venables.
I just need points and offensive vibes. That's it. That's all. It's simple. I am a casual that wants to be entertained.
Ty, has he been upgraded to Brent some winnables, or is he still unwinnable?
No, he's been upgraded to Brent.
Right.
He's been upgraded to Brent's carried by John Materials currently. We will see, because there is the potential. There is the potential that Sharon Moore is in fact an OU sleeper agent, and we have placed him there just on the off chance that we ever play them.
He really wanted to coach this game. He really wanted to coach this game.
God, he's such a bad coach.
Should have rather coached that Nebraska game, buddy.
Well, now he's got Biff Poggi on the sidelines for that.
He's such a bad coach.
As much as
Biff is a bad coach.
As much as I want to now randomly zag and take Temple just to see how Jameson reacts, give me OU. Give me OU minus 30.5. Give me OU minus 42.5 in this one. Absolutely. I think we're going to go back to the vanilla playbook, which I think worries me a little bit with what we are needing from Mateer and seeing from Mateer. I would not be surprised if we go very conservative on this offense, just because we need to do a bit of load management on the hits that he's taking and the hero ball that we're requiring from them. So I think we saw maybe a bit more aggressive play from Mateer run game wise in this Michigan game. I think we have some stuff that we need to iron out in the run game, and I'd be fine if we don't cover this and we focus on just trying to run the ball way more than we need to and way more than the game requires to kind of flesh out that run game from us. I hope we take a developmental approach to this game. So that does worry me about the cover, but yeah, go ahead and give me OU minus 21.5.
Here's when it comes down to these games like this, the beginning of the season, these non-con teams with big spreads versus really good football teams. The way you cover these games is you do not let Temple score. From our defense standpoint, I think there is a scenario that we could have held Michigan to no touchdowns very easily in that game. If it wasn't just for 175-yard play, we would have held a team like Michigan to no touchdowns. I feel like we can do the same with Temple, and if we give them up a touchdown, I would be disappointed at the game. Exhibit B, you need to have a guy that can go out there and get you points quick at the beginning. I think John Mateer is a guy that can make big plays easily, with either that be in the run game or throwing the deep ball to Deion Burks. I think we could score very fast. And then C, whenever the game gets out of hand, avoiding a backdoor cover, do you have a good backup and good depth? And I think our backup quarterback, whenever you break it down, I think is one of the better backup quarterbacks probably in the country, which is kind of wild to say out loud. But he's been there, done that, and showed some things, especially versus inferior opponents. His speed is going to be something that's really hard for Temple to guard. I understand Temple put up a lot of points in their opponents thus far, but they've never played Oklahoma's defense. I love 21.5. I think it's an easy cover. And you guys say vanilla. It could be a thing where we play vanilla again in preparation for Auburn, because we also know that's a big game. But I think always the plan coming into the offseason was to prepare for Michigan and not even care about Illinois State. That whole offseason was for Michigan. Now that game's over, my guess is they haven't even thought about game plan until this week for Temple, and they're probably going to still do some fun things. I don't think it's going to be completely vanilla. I bet you it'll be vanilla with a little bit of rainbow sprinkles. I think OU covers easily.
Yeah, I don't think you could go too far backwards once you've kind of opened it up a little bit. So I don't think it'll be pure plain vanilla on offense. I am intrigued to see what happens quarterback-wise after Mateer, because Venables has flat out said, still not sure about his about Michael Hawkins.
He's got 4 games though. He's not going to play any other games. Like, this is a primetime game to play him. So they're going to use him at the beginning of the season and just hold him out.
Wait, you can
this one, Kent State, and then
you could redshirt somebody that already played. Like, you could just add a redshirt at any time.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. No, the 4-game rule has been in place for a couple years now, Blake.
Oh, but I thought did he only play
Blake
4
means
games
because he didn't use it previously.
Yeah, he didn't use it last year.
No, he's a true sophomore.
Oh, so you could just place. I didn't know that. Sorry, I thought you had to place it at least freshman year. I knew about the 4-game rule, but I thought you always had to you can play 4 games as a freshman in the red shirt. I didn't know you could do it once you've gotten into your career.
And
hypothetically, you could redshirt a senior.
Jesus.
Which has happened before. People have gotten hurt, and then they hit them with a red shirt.
I feel like we were talking about that with someone in the past OU teams. Maybe
Jason White
on OU.
No, not Jason White.
When did we ever talk about Jason White on the podcast?
No, it was like a bad
podcast didn't even exist.
But we legitimately had the conversation of redshirting a junior. Or
Wasn't it the Miami guy that played for 8 years? Restrepo, maybe?
Well, no, I'm talking about for OU.
No. Anyway,
I'm going to move on. Just talk
That's
about
beside the point. That's beside the point. I think this is going to be an interesting game. Temple, I feel like early has really opened it up. They look a lot different than the Temple team last year. Their head coach, Casey Keeler, I really like that guy. He is exactly who you need to have in place at a program like Temple. He's talked a lot about how, he looks at things unrealistically, and he coaches his teams unrealistically, where it's about like, let's just forget about whether or not we can actually beat OU or not. I'm going to coach you guys like we are going to do this. And I think that's awesome. I respect the hell out of him. I know there's a lot of noise, as much noise as there can be from Temple about, kind of some billboard or bulletin board material.
Yeah, y'all call them high schoolers.
Well, no. No, that's the thing with the aggregation.
The reporter.
The reporter said it would be like that. The OU Temple game would be like a high school crowd because of how empty it'll be. Because the Eagles, who are, who own, obviously the link and rent the stadium to Temple for $4 million a year or something crazy like that. They're not opening up the upper deck or club level. It's going to be empty. It's going to be a little weird. They're dead right. It's going to be a weird crowd. But overall, I think, to me, motivation, whatever. I think this OU team, I think they're better than Temple. I think they cover 21.5. I understand the optimism on Temple's end, with the offense, with all of that. But I just think the Sooners are quite a bit better than the Owls, and they get the 21.5 point cover. But I could definitely see this line being a bit interesting. So we'll see. Temple's not playing, UMass and whoever the hell they played week 2. So a little bit different. But anyways, it is time for our favorite pick of the week.
Why aren't the brakes working? Because I cut the brakes! Wild card, bitches! Yeah! What? Oh, God! Brakes, guys, I can't stop this man!
That clip is super fitting this week. It's the wild card picks, where we get to make our favorite non-slate pick of the week. Currently in the lead, Bowden, Blake, and Jameson are tied at 2-2 or 2-0. Ty is 1-1, and I am riding in last at 0-2.
2-1, right?
I don't really consider the pot of greed as a wild card. Do we?
Okay, I don't think so.
Okay, that's going to the Supreme Court in the group text, but
okay, we'll discuss this. We'll discuss this. We'll discuss this for the sake of time. But anyways, I need to turn things around bad. And this is a little bit of a blend of learning from your mistakes and trying to pivot and try to get a little bit better here. So I'm going to go with with a team I've been monitoring this entire season so far. First week I faded them. Second week I rode with them. It worked out to great success. They have a very similar line again this week on the road at Northwestern. Oregon minus 27.5 in that weird little makeshift stadium. I think the Ducks.
I'm one of the Duckies there.
No, I didn't. I have a different Big Ten team there.
But I think the Ducks roll big here. They look like an absolute wagon. They are steamrolling teams. Northwestern is not very good at all. And look, I'm just going to say it. I hope the Ducks, they put that giant inflatable Oregon duck in Lake Michigan right off the coast. If they do that, auto lock. So we're going to turn this thing around and lay some serious points with Oregon here at 27.5.
Yeah. So Ty, I don't want to take your Stanford plus 13.5 versus Boston College pick. So I'll let you have that one. I think I'm going to go something a little bit different here. There's a lot of big lines, but I'm going to pick a line that I think is a little bit too overhyped for one team and should be a little bit favored more to the other. I'm going to pick Memphis minus 3.5 going to Troy. I think Troy is getting a lot of love for what happened with Clemson, and I think Clemson is getting way too much hate for what happened with Troy. I think that's just one half of football, guys. Let's not overreact too much. Memphis is a football team that I really like. I think they got good players. I think Brendan Lewis, the quarterback, is a guy that I believe can run the ball, put the Troy defense in some trouble, and get out to an early lead. I think that this will be a comfortable one for me. And if it's a little bit dicey at the end, cool. It's only 3.5. So give me Memphis.
Yeah, Bobby, have you been able to confirm if Oregon is bringing the Labubu Duck to the game, or was that a one-off?
I would really hope that the Labubu Duck is a one-off.
Speaking of niche references of the internet, but
I feel like that's not even niche anymore. They've like hit
no, it's not
critical mass.
Yeah.
I feel like it's
that is
The Labubus or the Labubu Duck?
the Labubus. Like
Yeah.
I'll tell you what Labubu Duck is. You know what it probably is.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of the point of drop shipping.
Like you buying Labubus?
I am not.
Sure. I
Not
can
my
see you having
thing.
some Labubus.
Nah.
I feel like if I could magically open those closet doors behind you, we might get a more definitive answer on your Labubu collection or lack thereof.
You see
We would
Blake got a
never know.
Hermes bag with a Lulu little like a Lulu what's the word I'm looking for? A little belt bag. What are they fucking called?
The crossbody bags.
I just cursed on the pod. Sorry. Bleep it.
It is our Always
little
Sunny
keychain.
episode. So.
Carry on.
But yeah,
Sorry.
but also, if you've been to the room that Blake is like recording out of, you know that all of his collectibles are on his desk. Like he is looking at all of his collectibles.
Yeah.
So, you can't see it, Ty. You can't. Don't look at the screen closer. You're not
gonna see it.
But
Trying to
See, on my desk, I have all my championship rings, or this one's not really a championship, but Fiesta Bowl, World Series. Need to add
The
a Thunder
Fiesta
one
Bowl
to
is a
it.
championship.
oh,
ring?
a Thunder one.
Anyways,
I
They
do
make-
have a Larry O'Brien trophy.
Ooh, you got a little Larry.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Sorry, Ty.
Anyways, sorry to
Yeah, so-
I totally derailed this. I apologize, Ty.
I have historically started out the season. We're in week 4.
3.
Okay.
Next week is week 4.
Okay, I was a little confused. It says week 4 at the bottom. That threw me
It
off.
says up.
Sorry.
It says up next week 4.
Oh, okay. Completely lost. Okay. Jameson talked about a criminally low line because it was underappreciating one team. And I historically in the early weeks have gone for those big swings. As you will remember early on in the pod, I took 72.5 points of exposure with OU and the University of Southern California week 1. And OU burned me there, but that's all right because we are looking solid now. But I like to dial it back once we get into it on these wild cards. And I like to pick, like Jameson said, the value. I like to pick where I see a team with a criminally low line that is being underappreciated because we are still early in the season. And I understand the Vegas odds makers are watching these games and paying attention to these games. But when you go on vibes like I do, you can just see that there's lines that are nowhere near what they need to be if you've actually been paying attention to these teams and these coaching staffs and everything else. And there's a line out there that is not giving the respect to this team that it deserves. And I think this team is going to get this one by 2 more touchdowns over what that line is. And that team is, of course, the University of Southern California Trojans,
Here he goes.
who
again.
are a 20.5 point favorite against Purdue. Let me tell you about what USC is cooking up right now. Are they going to be a contender in the Big Ten? Probably not. But when you look at their statistics, outside of the quarterback, no one else on that team has more than 2 touchdowns. And they have 5 different backs with 2 touchdowns. They have, I think, 4 different receivers with 2 touchdowns. And then they have 7 total runners with touchdowns. That counts a quarterback. And they have, I think, about that same number of receivers with touchdowns. They're putting up points on people. They're putting up points on people up and down their roster. I understand they haven't really played anyone, but I think Purdue kind of falls into that, even though it's their first conference game. We know Lincoln Riley can cook up an offense. And I think if you're telling me less than 3 touchdowns, although only by a tiny amount, I think this USC team is absolutely out to put points up on people. They're an offensive-centric team, and they have depth up and down this roster to score points. We have seen it so far. There is no imbalance there. It is like their offense is like watching OU's defense. it's like you put someone else in and there's not a drop off. It's the same production. And again, they haven't necessarily played anyone, but I don't think Purdue is anyone either. So go ahead and give me the Trojans minus 20.5. I personally, I think only because Purdue in Big Ten and because they are going to Purdue, that this isn't like 23-24 range. And I could see this being, if this was 28 or 28.5, I'd still be confident in it. Give me the Trojans minus 20.5.
Can we throw up a Purdue Pete staring at Ty into the group text as soon as something goes bad on Saturday?
I will say that carbon
course we
fiber
will.
one that they made was terrifying.
Oh yeah, that's like the Purdue Pete like undershell. Like before you put like the actual Pete face on, that's what Pete is. It's just the creepy skull. Anyways, Blake.
Yeah, I do appreciate Ty bringing up USC because I feel like on this podcast they won't get a lot of love for obvious reasons, but honestly they're looking kind of like the fourth best Big Ten team this year. So maybe it's just a good year that both USC and OU can move on. Both of them are successful. Everybody's happy with how it ends up, and we can just move on from there. Yes, Bobby.
Like you say that, but you know what's going to end up happening is you'll have USC at OU round 1 of the playoffs. And it'll
I'm not
just
gonna
all
go
get
that, I'm not going to go that far.
and it would just get all totally reignited again of Lincoln Riley coming back to Norman.
If that's going to happen, this is the year for that to happen.
It would be the most. There's only one game that would be bigger, like for a playoff game in Norman. It would be Texas. Just saying.
I don't know. We've faced Texas in the postseason before, and it hasn't been as consequential.
Well, but not.
But if you count conference
but no, it would be
yeah.
hosting
Yeah.
Texas in Norman. Like that hasn't happened
Yeah.
in over 100 years.
That's true.
Sorry, Blake. I had to say that.
It is all good, and now after Ty's pick, I realize I think he did choose every single favorite this week. It is a front runners special from Ty.
Old chalky Ty.
Oh no, Ty thinks that the favorites are going to win games.
We're not choosing winners, so we're choosing spreaders. But I am gonna go.
Hey yo,
like phrasing.
If y'all are still with this, seeing if y'all are just paying attention.
Next weekend's spread is going to be filmed live on a boat.
But I'm
Because
going
of
to
the
go
implication.
to the West Coast with our little boy, PJ Fleck. I'm going against them. Give me the Calgorithm plus 2.5 at home versus PJ Fleck. PJ, this is just disrespectful for Cal. That guy, I'm going to butcher his name. Was it Jaron Kawe Sagapalutale?
Yeah, you should know.
You should just don't try.
He needs the one good thing that DJU did was he figured out he has a really bad name that's really long and hard to pronounce, and he just came up with a good acronym that we can all say it, we can all throw it out. We need it for this guy because this guy's incredible. He does not look like a freshman out there making those throws.
His name is so much harder to say than Uyongalole.
Yeah.
I don't think that Polynesian ancestral player names are hard to pronounce.
Okay.
The Rock, Dylan Gabriel, easy.
Okay. All right, Blake, keep going.
But this guy's fantastic. He looked incredible versus Oregon State. Some of the throws that I saw don't look like a true freshman at all. And I believe he was like kind of the first true freshman transfer where he signed at Oregon and then left Oregon to go to Cal so he could immediately start before even playing a game. So I am going to go the Calgorithm. I feel like the Calgorithm's hot in the beginning. I feel like they just burn red hot and then flame out at the end. Justin Wilcox special. Give me the Golden Bears plus 2.5.
Okay, there we go. All right. Another great week, boys. Ty, I see you have your hand up.
I promise it's very brief. Can I just say, as we are sort of an OU-centric pod, after seeing that Jade Knott is maybe not great, I think Blake's Cal pick is amazing because I think it was just the team that was carrying this dude. And I think we maybe got bamboozled, but
How much are y'all paying on? Does anybody know?
A lot.
Too
He
much.
needs to start producing, or else it's gonna be.
You say too much, or you're gonna say two?
I was saying
too much.
Too much.
I was going to
two.
say. No, I was gonna say he needs to start producing, or else it will be too much.
I can't wait for 5-10 years from now where NIL is turned into like a tips-based system.
I don't know.
Like kind of how OSU wanted to do it, where you could scan the QR code on the helmet and then
Sort of, yeah. We got to
yeah.
tie it to production somehow because this is.
Yeah,
That's exactly what's never going to happen.
No. There's it's a long season. We'll see what happens with it, but I'm certainly not thrilled with the early returns. I don't think anyone is. But yeah. Anyways, so that's all we have for week 3 of the weekend spread. Week 4 should be pretty fun. Looking forward to that. We got a massive OU game with OU Auburn.
We'll feed generations. The message board material after that game is going to be fantastic.
On either
I may
side.
have to get an On3 subscription just to be able to peruse both. I never thought I would have to say that, sign up for that evil corporation, but I might have to just to peruse the materials.
There's no neutral result to that game. There's no result where both OU and Auburn fans are like, all right. One side is going to be losing their mind and wanting to fire everybody. It's just that's just the reality of that game, and I kind of love it.
I'm ready for it. I'm so excited.
There is no way that that's even a competitive game.
Oh,
whoa, dude! No.
I like it. I like it. Early season beef. Let's start some beef with Auburn.
Hugh Freeze and Meek Mill versus a legitimately amazing OU team.
Well, and
if OU, I hope OU does well, but if OU doesn't do well, it's going to break Ty. Ty, this is the most optimistic I've seen him about OU in years. And so if he gives up just a little bit of hope and
to Jackson Arnold on Owen Field, yeah. But Blake, also, it's a big one for you. You got the Iron Skillet, the last edition for a while against SMU. So pretty big one at Amon-G Carter.
I think it's coming back.
I hope it comes back. I feel like we said it was the last year.
Yeah, and then I forgot it was this year. And then I think we both got new ADs, both TCU and SMU. And so I think they're trying to work together to bring it back, which they should. The TCU fans that were saying that, no, we shouldn't play it anymore. You're dumb. You're stupid. And you just don't want to lose to SMU. You gotta have rivals. That's what makes it fun.
Yeah, it matters. Speaking of rivals, Texas Tech and Utah, your two least favorite teams, playing each other as well. I believe that's a 10 a.m. Local kickoff. That's delightful. And then Florida, Miami. So, hopefully two teams that lost to USF. But anyways, yeah. So that is all we've got for this week's episode. Boys, any final thoughts before we wrap this thing up? Of course not. It's been 90 minutes. We'll see y'all next time. Recapping Temple. Not sure what that'll look like, but looking forward to it. Jameson and I will be hanging out in Philly. It'll be a good time. But until then, have a good one, everybody. Good luck out there, and Boomer Sooner.